Hello, brothers and sisters. Thank you for coming today to our first Temple 420 Wednesday Bible study, where we read through and discuss the Bible and celebrate God and have a good discussion. Today I've got CraigX to talk to us as usual. Yeah.
And we have Sammy, and Victoria. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Victoria Rose. Nice to meet everybody.
All right, nice to meet you too, Victoria. We've been chatting for a few minutes before we get started, and we were discussing which part of the Bible to start with. And since this is our first Wednesday night Bible study, and the person who inspired us to do it, Dave Driver, is here because he's out of data on his phone. But we can just say a blessing for him. Thank you for helping us get started, Dave. And we're going to start right at the beginning of the Bible with Genesis 1:1 through 1:19. You want to start first doing a little Bible reading there, Chapin?
Yeah, one moment. Let me pull up my screen here. I was looking for it. Slow on this here.
I created my own bifocals with 2 pairs of glasses.
That's clever.
I was surprised it worked, but it did. All right, I'll start reading since you're pulling up the verse. In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. The earth was unformed and void. Darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the surface of the water. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So there was evening, and there was morning, one day. Someone else want to take over?
God said, "Let there be a dome in the middle of the water, and let it divide the water from the water." God made the dome divided the water under the dome from the water above the dome. And that's how it was. And God called the dome sky. So there was evening, and then there was morning, and the second day.
Do you want to read the next one, Victoria?
Yeah, I don't
have a Bible in front of you.
Bible is. I usually use it online Bible.
Okay.
No, I have it right here. Let me get it.
All right. I love Bible Gateway. I'll keep going though. Genesis 1:9. Let us know when you're ready. God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear." And that is how it was. God called the dry land earth, and gathering together of the water he called seas. And God saw it was good.
Oh, you have it on there. Is there a way I can zoom into that?
I'm not sure. I think so.
Let me look. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Sure. 1:11 too.
1:11.
Yeah.
God said.
Can I read? Is it my turn to read or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It says, God said, "Let the earth put forth grass, seed-producing plants, and fruit trees, each yielding to its own kind of seed-bearing fruit on the earth." And that is how it was. Keep reading.
Keep going.
Okay, the earth brought forth grass plants, each yielding its own kind of seed, and trees, each producing its own kind of seed-bearing fruit, and God saw that it was good.
That's the first verse that actually came to me when I was trying to figure out the stuff about cannabis. And when they made cannabis demonized, it was like, hey, this is a bad thing. It can't be if this says it's good. Satan didn't make it.
Can I point out one coincidence?
Yeah.
We're 4 minutes and 20 seconds right into the recording, right when you said cannabis. I was thinking the same thing when she was reading that, but I didn't want to interrupt. Okay, keep going.
Me?
Yeah, we've got one more sentence left in that paragraph.
Okay, so what'd you say? Say that again.
I think there was one more sentence in your paragraph. So there was evening and there was morning, a third day.
Oh, okay. You want me to keep going?
Okay, I'll take over from here. I'll read the last
Okay,
paragraph.
thank you.
You got it.
So mine's
So-
kind of on a row, so I don't see the paragraphs.
Oh, you don't have paragraphs on yours. Mine's
Yeah, they're
broken
all
into
fine.
paragraph. I mean, they're made up paragraphs anyways. In the original Bible, it was all run together anyways, like one line. God said, and what's interesting about the third day is God said it was good twice. And if you read in the Gospel of John, the wedding was on Tuesday, and Jews believe that it's weird the wedding on Tuesday, but they felt like it was the day of that.
Getting muted out there.
Yeah, that it gave you a double blessing.
Wow.
God said, "Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to divide the day. Let them be for signs, seasons, days, and years, and let them be for." Ha 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 ha. Can you mute yours for a second, Victoria? Thank you. Okay, so God said, let there be, I'm going to start over. Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs, seasons, days, and years, and let them be for let them be for lights in the domes. Why am I missing that? Let them be for signs, seasons, years, and let them be for lights in the dome of the sky to give it light to the earth. And that is how it was. God made two great lights, the larger one to rule the day and the smaller light to rule the night, and the stars. God put them in the dome of the sky to give light to the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw it was good. So there was evening and there was morning, a fourth day. Okay. Oh, did we lose Victoria?
Yeah, I think she signed up there.
Okay. Hopefully she'll join us back in. I think she's just trying to get her children
Yeah.
quiet. So this is what we were talking about ahead of time, the dome. And either all of the Bible is true or none of it is true. And if it's all true, then we still currently live under a domed sky and on a flat earth. And when I first heard about the flat earth from like Eddie Bravo and some other people, I thought, this is a psyop. A lot of these conspiracies I believe in, like there's no moon landing, that was BS. Some of the stuff that Alex Jones said, they're poisoning us with.
Can I have a look?
You want to say something? Go ahead, say something.
I asked Alexa, is the moon landing real? And she said, yes, it is in fact real. There's many documents about it that it's real.
And so do you think we actually went to the moon?
No, not at all.
Okay, good. Yeah, but Alexa, your schools and everyone else is constantly reinforcing the spinning ball earth and this and that. So like I was saying, I thought it was a psyop to make us all, if like you didn't believe in the moon landing or something, look crazy. And then Benjamin Owen, a television guy from Hollywood, started looking into it. And he said, no, this is crazy. It can't be real, but I'm going to investigate and keep an open mind. And then he came to the conclusion, he goes, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. I don't want to believe this because it makes you more outside or extricated from the normal society's beliefs. And nobody wants to be the weirdo who thinks something so strange and different. But
we've got to do that with evolution, though, too. That's what.
Say that again.
We've got to do that with evolution, though, too. They think we've been here millions of years and evolved from goo, and like that's completely craziness. There's no mid-evolution stages. There's nothing to prove any of that. It doesn't make
well,
any
not
sense.
only that, it would literally be impossible. And if you think of DNA, it's designed to produce its own kind. And how would it suddenly start reproducing? I mean, micro evolution is real. There are people that adapt to different environments and animals that can adapt, but there's no macro evolution. There's no cow becoming from a whale as they try to teach us in school. And
Right.
you know, they say, oh, it's a vestige.
Yeah.
Like these. What
And
do
now
you
they
remember?
figure out there's vestigial organs. Yeah, organs supposedly we don't need anymore, like your tailbone. That was one of the ones that Kent Hovind always pointed out. If you didn't have your tailbone, he said always cut it off. Then, if you don't need it, you'll be
Right.
way out of luck if you cut off your tailbone and you break your tailbone. It's not like you don't need it. And that's the same with your pancreas, like they thought with, and other things too.
Well, and we should always mention, I think, other important Bible teachers that have helped us along the way, because Kent Hovind had helped me as well when it came to evolution. He really woke me up to the fakeness of that, just the way Alex Jones woke me up to the fakeness of the moon landing, even though Alex Jones is not a preacher. And like I said, I think Michael Rood really explained to me how the Gospels are not, Jesus didn't have a 3.5 year ministry, that it was only 70 weeks, and that it started before one Passover and it ended by the next Passover.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So, and Genesis, like you said, is one of the things that brought me into realizing that cannabis was not some evil plant, but our ministry is for stoners, not about cannabis per se all the time, the way Charlie thinks it is. And I'm not against Charlie, but I would like to bring him back on next Saturday and talk to him about some of his beliefs in more depth. We really let him go on and on and on last week.
Yeah.
Question him too much. And I thought that was great because we were talking about the synagogue of Satan. And I was accused of being an anti-Semite, even though I'm Jewish, for labeling our Temple 420 episode after the synagogue of Satan.
Huh. But they're wild.
So what brought you to a flat earth knowledge?
To me, I can't see how I would prove it other than the domes above the earth. And it sounds like it's that to me. I can't observe the earth or figure out any of that. And the rest of it doesn't like add up. Like even today, they claimed the lunar thing, they brought 47 pounds of dirt back. They were like, it's true that happened. I'm like, I don't understand that. It seems like it's a hollow thing up there. And there's so many other crazy things. And this tells me how I think it is there with the dome with it. And then I've seen the theory too with the flood, where it was probably a thicker dome that also built up the pressure on Earth. And most of the Earth was dry. And that sounds like how it goes with this. The waters came from the Earth and made most of the oceans at that time. But before then, the oxygen was more pure and lizards could get as big as the dinosaurs were, as that's how we got supersized bugs. So to me, that would only be accomplishable with something around the earth, and it's got to be some dome area like that.
That's what I learned from Kent Hovind, who was a high school science teacher, but a real Christian, and really explains it very well and does debates with all sorts of people. And I've never seen him lose a debate when he's talking about a young earth and the way he goes, the Bible's true. Even people lived to be 800 years old. And he said the only thing that would do that would almost be like a highly pressurized, high oxygen, kind of like a hyperbaric chamber. And he talks about how that young girl, when I was a kid, I don't know if it was before you guys were born or not, she fell into the well, her leg had become black and they were ready to amputate it. And they put her in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber and the blood came back to the leg and it was restored. So they didn't have to amputate it.
Yes, I heard about that. I've heard some really wild things you can get by using that HBOT therapy, like really quick healing. Like I can't remember the numbers. It was crazy. Should look that up.
So that it is interesting, and I don't think it's just a theory. I think it is kind of tested because they use it with old people. They use it with a lot of people that have illnesses, and it does help with a lot of healing. And it seems as if you were living in that type of environment before the flood, because during the flood, the Bible says the waters opened from above and from below.
Yeah.
And so maybe that was a release of some kind of high pressure system so people wouldn't live as long. And then it seems as if Moses lived to be 120. And I've been working with some insurance people recently, and there's only 1 in 1,000 people that lives to be 118 or something, 120. And that still is kind of a limit to the human age on Earth these days. And
That's
Ken Hovind said is that reptiles never stop growing. And so if they lived in that environment and also had long, long lives, that would mean they would be super large.
That's one of the ones that gets me too. They try to put in that supposedly now with science, people are now living beyond 30 and 50, like they supposedly were years back. Like, no, we had people that lived long times back then in biblical ages that even like Moses.
Living to be 120.
Yeah, I even have a great grandpa that lived to be 110 that came in.
Yeah, I've had 2 relatives that have made it past 100, and my grandma died at like a month shy of 100. So it's not impossible, but still the average is going down now because of the COVID vaccine, and young death is much more common.
And all this garbage, they're letting us put so much garbage in the foods and mistreat your body. It's ridiculous.
Poisoning. But I think it's also spiritual. I think we're poisoning our spirits as well because we no longer believe this word of God. And that's what we were talking about with the flat earth. Either this is all true, we live under a dome, or none of it is true. And it's hard, and having grown up in the system of like, we're on a flying ball spinning around the sun and it's been proven by science, made it really hard for me to accept that flat earth for a long time. And at first I was embarrassed to tell anyone like, oh, I believe the earth, we live on a flat earth. But the concept, one of the ways I've seen it proved with science without spending a lot of money is if the earth is supposed to curve, and drop so many feet all the time, then you wouldn't be able to see like across the lake and see Chicago or Wisconsin from each other. And there's other people that have shown places where they have the camera and they go, oh, you can see, oh, we watched the boat disappear over the horizon, and then they zoom in on the telephoto lens, and it shows right back up.
Yeah, I've seen that one proved lots of times.
Yeah, so there are some scientific proofs out there, and one of them I thought was very interesting is the Polaris, the North Star, how it never moves, and how the constellations haven't changed in ever. We have the same constellations and stars they had back in King David's time, which is in Moses's time. So it goes back and back and back.
The constellation of the stars, I know Perry Stone brought it up that there's the word that the story of the Bible was also in that. So when we looked at the skies, the virgins up there, and it all went through the cycle of the Bible story as well. Need to get more details on how that went there, but they said the zodiac was hijacked by pagans, and it once told the story of how God was sending Christ and the whole biblical story like the feasts do.
Well, I'm sure it still does tell the same story, but I know what you mean. The other cultures or whatever have their own mythology that goes with the.
Well, even our one that everybody refers to is a totally pagan one. Okay. Supposedly the Jewish, the one that everybody looks at, like for your zodiac, those zodiac signs are different than the ones I've heard that were the original Jewish signs.
I don't know that which ones are different or which ones are the same. I'm not that familiar with the stars. The one I always look at and recognize, like right now, it's getting higher in the sky as I pee outside at night because we live in the middle of the jungle. And I'm always looking at the belt of Orion. It's been slowly creeping its way across the sky right now. And now around midnight, it's almost right overhead. That's the easiest one for me to recognize. And sense. I know that's not one of the ones in the zodiac, but it is a constellation that's famous.
All right. Well, Orion's belt's part of one of those zodiacs, isn't it? I don't know constellations enough, but I thought it was somebody's belt. and was some
It's
guy.
the belt of Orion. But Orion is a hunter, and he's got a bow and arrow in his hand. And that's another thing. He's like pulling the bow hunting, but now I've seen him with a shield. Like when I looked it up online the other day, he suddenly had a shield, and I'm like, he's got a bow. Like, what's with that?
Wow. Should we finish up Genesis 1 for our last here?
How much longer is it? It's
9 minutes, but we've got.
No, it keeps going. We'll do that next Bible study. We can start our Bible studies and read the whole Bible, but sometimes I like talking about it after we read it. Let's look at it more deeply and see if we can have a discussion on some of the stuff that's in there. Yeah. Victoria, do you have anything to add about what we read so far, Genesis 1 through 19, and the stars and the grasses and the creation of the first 4 days?
No, I agree with everything you're saying.
Okay, well, we're glad you're here with us too, so thanks.
One of the things I've wondered too, is there a productivity method going off of like the days? Do they inspire you to do things with like planning your week same way God did through the 7 days or anything like that?
No, I've never really thought of that. I try to observe the Sabbath. We try to light candles Friday night dinner, and we try to remember the Sabbath and keep it holy and to observe the Sabbath, which is what the Bible commands us to do. But I let my workers not work on Saturday. Like I'm here in Mexico, and they usually work Monday through Saturday. Saturday's a half day, but I just let them leave early Friday night so they can go observe the Sabbath with their family. And 2 of my workers are Seventh-day Adventists, which are Christians that observe the Sabbath.
I think I agree with a lot of what I heard somebody say too, that when it does refer to like the Sabbath is for mankind, that God knows that we need that day of rest and expression to him and kind of centering back with God. So it's meant a lot for us to kind of restabilize and get back through the week and have that rest, stop overworking our bodies and get back centered with God.
Yeah, I definitely noticed when we celebrated the Sabbath one time. I want to get back into it, but some things happened, and but I actually I noticed like the whole week after that, like everybody was in a good mood. There really wasn't much spiritual warfare, and I was just like really feeling great. And then I noticed and then I'm like, and then when Saturday passed and I didn't celebrate the Sabbath, I noticed the week was pretty crappy. And so, I think since God says He'll be with us on the Sabbath, it's important that we, dedicate that time, just remembering and spending time with God. And
Daniel said they didn't observe the Sabbath of the land because God commands us also in Israel to plant for 7 years, and on the 7th year you're supposed to take a Sabbath. So after they didn't observe the Sabbath year and they kept planting during that Sabbath year and not trusting that God would provide in the 6th year for the 7th day to rest, or for the 7th year to rest, that they were punished with 70 years in Babylon in captivity. And so that he enforced the Sabbath on them by taking them off the land and bringing them into Babylon.
Yeah, right.
All right, well, now,
is America considered Babylon? I've heard some people say that. Is America considered Babylon?
Well, this is getting off of Genesis, but I think that it's a system of global business and trade, and that the Babylon was the center of commerce, and kind of there's the 2 cities, Babylon and Jerusalem, just like Egypt and Israel, that are supposed to be against each other. Egypt, slavery. The promised land is liberation and freedom. And Babylon is supposed to be the world system, and Jerusalem is the city of God's system. So when they were taken into Babylon, Babylon was this other empire just to the north of Israel back then, and were then taken over by the Persians, and the Persians ruled the world from Babylon. The Persians were conquered by the Greeks, and Alexander the Great ruled from Babylon. And then the Greeks were defeated by the Romans, and they didn't rule from Babylon. They brought the world back to the Roman Empire, and then which eventually became the Roman Church. The Holy Roman Church took over from the Roman Empire, their lands and their system. And so I think we're still living, like Jesus said, when he comes back, it'll be a revived Roman Empire. So rather than America being Babylon, we have Greek buildings. We use a Roman alphabet. We use a Roman calendar. The Romans, Julius Caesar and Caesar Augustus, pushed their months right into the center of the calendar. And so September means 7, October means 8, November means 9, and December means 10. And yet they're the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th month of our calendar. And just like they did in the Roman era, they made the kids take July and August off so they could worship Julius Caesar and Caesar Augustus as man gods. We still don't put our children in school during those 2 months. They're the 2 longest months of the year. And yeah, they both have 31 days rather than 30 or 28 days. So that we really live in a revived Roman Empire. We use Roman numerals for our Super Bowl and for other things like movies. They use the Roman numerals. We use the Roman calendar, the Roman months. So maybe we're more in a more revived Roman Empire than we are in Babylon.
Okay.
But we still use a Babylonian system of global dominance and commerce to make money.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Do you feel like we're in the Babylon system? I mean, Bob Marley sang that.
Yeah, I think there's a whole Babylon getting us.
Sounds like what you sounded like sounds pretty right.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also the whole system because it's all over the world, and I think it's going to require we do this stuff worldwide. So it's couldn't be, I don't think just America, but I don't know. Some of the stuff with I'm wondering if America was Babylon, would be Babylon, because I don't know any other country that if something happens to it, people will cry for it. And they say that's going to happen with Babylon. And we've got a beast for whore to ride, but
we have a beast for what?
A whore to ride.
Oh yeah, I mean it is a system. It is a beast system almost.
Well, then our presidential vehicle is also called the Beast too.
Right. Oh, and that's you're saying for our whore to ride in the beast. And what is that? It stands for something too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's probably multifaceted and all kinds of predictive and showing us how that goes with it.
No, I mean it's an acronym, like the it's like the vehicle something. I know what you're saying. The president's limousine is called the Beast, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I wondered at one time if Hillary Clinton was going to get in, but I don't know. It could be Kamala this time, but I wouldn't doubt if they do, like they say, that they might let him retire or go out and her take in and then be like, hey, you want to vote her back in as a election scheme. But
let her be the acting president until the election or till the well, believe me, he
surprised me.
Biden's really not running anything.
Yeah.
He has a whole What was that, Victoria?
Mentally able to, really.
Not to take it political, but it seems like that may be things coming in and the people need to watch for them. So
one of the things I wanted to mention on Saturday, and I said, hey, what does Charlie think about Revelation 6:2, which is the opening of the first seal, the white horse? Because I got kicked off of TikTok and YouTube and some other networks because I was saying, hey, I think this is the beginning of the first seal, that the white horse is like a fake Jesus. They come in as healers, but it's really doctors in their white lab coats, and they're claiming this global virus that may or may not exist. And it says he conquers the whole world with the corona, the crown, and a bow. And a bow is also a common cloth used on your head or face, like the face mask. And that's why, and it's called a tuxon. So I said, oh my God, that's it. And that's what I want to ask Charlie about. And then Charlie went off on his whole etymology word thing where, go ahead, something to say?
Who wrote this?
Say it's at 7:30 now here too. So if we want to wrap
Okay, so we'll wrap it up soon. Sammy just asked a very important question. He said, who wrote the Bible, or who wrote Genesis? And the first 5 books of the Bible, in case people don't know, are called the Torah. No?
So Moses.
Oh, who wrote the, that was John on the island of Patmos in the book of Revelation. He wrote that.
How many years ago?
He was about 80 AD.
No, like how many years ago?
Right, so 1,900 years ago.
Oh, well, how did he like figure it out?
God inspired. That's the whole thing. Is this book was written by 40 different men, 66 books, and it all goes together as like a unified message. And the first 5 books were written by Moses, according to Yeshua, the Messiah. He says that Moses wrote the Torah, and that the people didn't believe him and don't follow it. They don't follow the commandments, but that Moses was the one who wrote the first 5 books.
The wildest thing I think's been proved to me too is that all of these match. All the Peshitta, which is the Aramaic to English, and then the Hebrew, and then even our modern things. You wouldn't get any other book that's translated that even matches or doesn't have different stories or different chapters added onto it. And we don't really have that. It's all keeping God's word there and keeping it right.
And have you, Sammy likes hearing a new version of the Bible, which is, tell him what it's called.
Oh, yeah, it's called the Gen Z Bible.
And it's at Gen Z.Bible. And the Gen Z Bible is the Bible translated from the King James Version into like modern speak, but it stays accurate to the Bible.
Oh, nice.
It's for me, it's hysterical. I don't even recognize some of the words. But when I read it to the kids, they're like, yeah, I totally know what that means. Like when Mary gets, the angel Gabriel comes to Mary and tells her she's going to be pregnant, that God has blessed her. She gave him the side eye and then said, bet. Because at first it's hilarious, but the kids understood exactly what it meant and were related.
That's great.
Yeah, it was very funny. And so God's word really comes through no matter how, if you're true to the original, it still translates to touch your heart.
And it definitely
does.
Well,
cool. So I know we're trying to keep it to 30 minutes so we don't lose people. So I don't mind wrapping it up. Victoria, it was a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully your kids will join us sometime.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I'm gonna be here every single video.
My son's kind of loud because he's just genuinely loud.
He's 10 years old. He's a boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
Normal. Well, thank you guys for coming. God bless you people who watch, and have a good evening. Anybody else have anything?
Say that once again, Chapin. I missed what you said.
I say thanks to everybody who watched here, and have a good evening and be blessed.
Perfect. Sammy, I think, had one more question.
Anybody else have something they want to say?
Guys that like wrote the Corona know what was going to happen in the future.
God, well, 1/3 of the Bible is prophecy, and God inspires people and tells them what will happen in the future. And that's the one thing God says is proof that His word is true.
But like, how do they know?
Because they talk to God. They go into prayer, they listen to God, and they're inspired to write His word. And that's how we've received the Bible. So, and 1/3 of it is prophecy. And Jesus said the entire Old Testament was written about Him. And you can find Him in the stories.
Yeah, you can.
Like even the story of Joseph, how his brothers, the Jewish brothers, when they came to him, he didn't reveal himself the first time they came. It was only on the second coming that he revealed himself to the Jewish brothers. I always found that to be like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, thank you all for watching. And Victoria, you want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Peace.
We
Love
got
you guys.